Hi, I'm Hayley. I've been a nutritionist for over 10 years, and I saw firsthand how the diet industry works, but mostly doesn't work to help you lose weight. Then I found myself 20 pounds overweight and realized the weight loss struggle has nothing to do with what you eat, but why you eat. So I went on a mission to explore the brain and its role in weight loss, and now I help my clients lose 30 pounds in 90 days by wiring their brain to weigh less. On this show, you are going to learn how to wire your brain to lose weight so that you never have to diet, restrict, deprive, or willpower again. Hello. It's Hayley here. Super excited about today's episode. This is physical hunger versus emotional hunger on the podcast Weight Loss Without Dieting. I really resisted doing this podcast for a long time because I thought it was going to be like just too basic and too boring. And once I started writing it out, I was like, no, this is like really good. And basic is really good. There's a module in the program, my weight loss program, and my clients consistently bring it up to me or like talk about it in coaching. Like they refer back to it. Oh, in the module, physical hunger versus emotional hunger, XYZ. So it's one of those things that where these are the basics that you need to know and you need to understand. I think part of the other reason that I resisted it for a long time is because physical hunger is a very hot button topic. Like we get really concerned about the idea of experiencing physical hunger. And for that reason, I didn't want it to be a big turnoff. I didn't want to drive people away. But I think as you listen to this, especially if you saw the word physical hunger and you were like, no, listen to this episode, especially if that was a trigger for you, because I'm really going to break that down and help you understand what it is, what it means, why that feels scary, and how you can use it to your benefit. And no, I am not in this episode going to talk about you needing to be starving to lose weight or anything in that regard at all. You don't have to be starving in order to lose weight. That's a huge myth and a huge misconception. And it is perpetuated, I think, by big food companies, by dieting, and by just a lack of understanding about what physical hunger is and how it plays a role in weight loss. Okay, anyways, this episode might also be a little bit longer than other episodes because I have a lot of notes, a lot of long, very detailed notes. So if you're on a short car ride, this might be a two-parter for you. Just letting you know. Don't let that turn you off either, though. This is like really good information that is foundational to weight loss. Okay. So if I didn't say it before, which now I can't remember if I did, my name's Hayley Sohn. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a brain training weight loss coach. And my clients come to me to lose 10 pounds in 30 days without dieting by wiring their brain to eat less. Okay. So what that means is I help people lose weight without putting restrictions around what they can and can't eat or telling them to, count this many calories or points. Nothing like that. We take the weight loss work way deeper. We go into our brain, we figure out what's happening there and how do we make changes so that our weight loss is a lifelong thing and not something that we just did and then we gained it all back. Okay. That was probably a long explanation, but it's very impactful, very powerful work that I do with my clients in my program. So, do you watch Seinfeld? I put this in my notes because it was so funny. So, Netflix recently added Seinfeld to Netflix. And there was something that I watched growing up and I always really liked. So me and my husband are kind of rewatching it. And there's this episode where Jerry's girlfriend, they have a meal at the coffee shop, of course. And he says, are you are you full? Are you like stuffed? And she's like, no, I've had just enough. And he said, okay, great. Because I ordered us pie. And he's like, here, have a bite. And she's like, no. And he's like, why not? I know you like pie. And she's like, yeah, I like pie. I just don't want any. And he's like, why not? And she's like, I just don't want any. No. And so me and my husband are watching this and he's like, that's you. And in this episode, Jerry actually ends up breaking up with this girl because he can't understand why she wouldn't have the pie. And if me and my husband get a divorce, it's for something very similar. No, I'm just kidding. That wouldn't happen, but it is hilarious because this is like my husband was so identifying with Jerry Seinfeld in this scenario where she's just like, no, I don't want to eat it. Because I do that all the time. He's always like, here, have a bite. I'm like, no, I'm good. He's like, why won't you eat the thing? Because I'm not hungry and I just don't want to eat it right now. Or I am hungry, but I still don't want to eat it right now. And that's something, this social aspect of food and eating and saying no to food that's offered to you is such an important part of weight loss. It has nothing to do with today's episode, but if that story resonates with you, know that that's not just you, that this actually is work to be done to help you lose weight. And I have to confidently say that I did a lot of work around this, around feeling uncomfortable or allowing my husband to feel annoyed with me when I don't want to eat something that he's offering to me. It's work. This is a part of it. That is a big piece of losing weight is being able to comfortably say no to food that's offered to you that you don't want or that you're not hungry for or that isn't part of your plan. And I can do that now and I can laugh about it, but it wasn't always like that. I used to really struggle with it. I used to just always say yes. I used to eat a lot of food that I wasn't hungry for, or I didn't want, or I didn't plan for, just to make the other person feel comfortable. And what I realized was that I was constantly making myself feel uncomfortable. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And so there is a place that you can land where you can always confidently say no to food that's offered to you, and you can feel really amazing about it, even though your husband will get annoyed with you when you're watching an episode of Seinfeld and the same situation comes up. Okay, anyways. So distinguishing between physical hunger and emotional hunger is a very important part of weight loss, because physical hunger is your body telling you that it's ready to take on some fuel, that it has broken down what is stored in your muscle, in your liver, that maybe it's going to start getting into your fat cells for fuel, but that it has somewhat used up what fuel it has stored and it's ready to take on more fuel. And when your body is not experiencing physical hunger, so it's not coming and knocking on the door and saying, like, hey, we've used up what's here, we're ready for more. When it isn't doing that and you're eating, a lot of times we call that emotional hunger, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. But when you're eating for a reason that is not physical, basically you're taking on more fuel than your body needs, and that is just going to go into storage, which means fat, which means you're gaining weight. If you are taking in food more often for reasons outside of physical hunger, more often than you are for physical hunger, then you're going to be gaining weight. You're going to be gaining fat. So this is a very foundational and crucial aspect, understanding the difference and this role to losing weight and to losing weight long-term. Because when we can confidently experience physical hunger and confidently okay, remove confidently and slash, let's go back to a little bit. When you can teach your brain that we don't eat for emotional reasons, then you can actually get to your goal weight. And if you heard that, that's me clapping my hands because I'm getting really excited. Then you can actually get to your goal weight for a long term, for the long haul and not gain that weight back. So this is kind of like the foundational aspect and really the key to long-term weight loss success. However, even though this is super basic, it is not being talked about. It's not being discussed out there in the mainstream at all. And I believe that's for two reasons. Okay, so diets, they're not teaching this and they're not talking about it for two big reasons. Number one, many of us are really scared of physical hunger. And actually, I was too. Well, A, when I was losing weight back when, and B, now as a practitioner in the weight loss space, I was scared to address it with you guys because I didn't want to turn people off. I didn't want to turn people running away and saying, I don't want to work with her or listen to her podcast because she's talking about physical hunger. We are that freaking scared of physical hunger that me as someone who teaches it and talks about it a lot to my clients, I didn't want to address it to the public because I didn't want to scare people away. So imagine what a giant industry leader in the diet space or in the food space, they're not going to want to address this at all. They're never going to ever want to say oh, and by the way, physical hunger is important because they're going to lose profits. It's that scary. So we learn throughout our life that physical hunger is something that we should be scared of, that is fearful. You could pass out. Physical hunger will hurt. A lot of clients that come to me, they're like, I tried this one diet and I was starving the whole time. I was so hungry the whole time and it was so painful. It was painful physically. It was painful emotionally. Something bad's going to happen. If you go back to your earliest memories of food, of going to school, that's what I'm going for. So I have this memory, and I know that I've told this story on the podcast before, but I have this memory of when I was in preschool or kindergarten. I don't know which one comes first, but one of those two, whichever one comes first. And I was in the lunchroom eating my food as a normal, very young child would, kind of take a bite, really taste the bite, pay attention to the bite, pay attention to how I'm feeling physically, have a social interaction, look around, daydream, take another bite, this very slow kind of I don't know if methodical is the right word. I don't even know what that means necessarily, but eating very slowly. And the teacher came up and said, you have to finish your lunch now. And I was like, excuse me, what do you mean? And she was like, we're out of time. You have to eat all of the food that's in front of you right now. And I was like, oh, I don't understand, not computing. And basically there was this kind of contingency. You have to eat all of your food right now because A, if you don't, you're going to throw it away and you're going to be wasteful. And B, if you don't, something bad is going to happen later. And that bad thing is physical hunger. That bad thing that I might have to experience is physical hunger. So if you get really stuffed right now, if you overeat right now, you might be able to get out of experiencing physical hunger at all. And we are taught this from the youngest age possible. And it's having such a negative impact on our overall health. We're told that physical hunger is going to be bad in so many ways. And guess who is telling us that? I mean, A, these time restricted, meals that we're having, but B, big food companies. Don't feel hunger. Don't ever experience hunger. It's really bad. It's going to be awful. We're told all of these things. We're conditioned to believe that this is the worst thing that could happen. So if you think about it from that aspect, who's to gain from you never experiencing physical hunger? Someone who's selling you something. It's not addressed at all. We don't talk about it. And so we just overall have this really negative connotation with physical hunger. I had this idea that, or not, sorry, I was reading the wrong note. The idea that you have to starve in order to lose weight is a huge thing. I think that's like pushed and promoted. Like a lot of diets say, like, you don't have or have to feel hungry. That won't be a part of it. And so we just lose contact with that, with physical hunger. We don't currently really understand what it is or how it actually feels or what its role in our life and our weight loss is and what that looks like. So that's what I'm going to educate you on in this episode. But number two, I hadn't experienced physical hunger for years when I started to lose weight, and when I really started to like take weight loss to a much deeper level than like here's your diet that you have to follow. When I started taking it to this much deeper level, I realized like I haven't experienced physical hunger for years. I realized that I had a lot of anxiety built up around it about what it was going to feel like, and maybe I was going to pass out, or maybe something bad was going to happen, that I was just eating for all of these reasons that had nothing to do with physical hunger. It's time to eat. Everyone else is eating. I'm anxious, so let's get something to eat. Now it's snack time. I have to keep my metabolism up. Like there's so many reasons that we eat, and none of them have anything to do with physical hunger. And secondly, the reason that people aren't talking about physical hunger versus emotional hunger is because diets do not help you deal with, manage, or understand emotional hunger in any way. And most of the experts, I think, in this space, they don't even understand emotional hunger, like truly, or how to manage it, how to eliminate it from our lives, how to unlearn it. And that's such an important thing to say, because you can unlearn it. You learned it, so you can unlearn it. So even though right now it might feel impossible, it felt impossible for me. It felt like something I was never, ever, ever going to get through or really understand or really be able to live my life without experiencing. And I can say that I have 100% confidence around it when it does happen, and that I've, for the most part, really taught my brain that we don't do that anymore. My brain does not give me emotional reasons to eat anymore, for the most part. So you can 100% unlearn this. But what the diet space is really teaching, what a lot of experts in the diet space are teaching, is that number one, if you experience it, if they talk about it at all, which most of them just don't address it at all. But when I was like dieting and I was looking for answers around this is what I found. And this is what I now see a lot of the experts in a lot of diets talking about, if they talk about it at all, is number one, you have to distract or pretend it's not there. You've got like completely resist it. So a lot of times the advice that you'll hear in that space is to go for a walk, to take a bath, to call a friend, to read a book. Basically, those are all methods of distracting yourself from the emotional hunger being there. Or substitute. So you'll see a lot of diets talking about like healthy desserts, healthy snacks, healthy, this, that, or the other, healthy things that you used to binge on, healthy ice cream, healthy, I don't know, cookies. And so, but what that does, and a lot of people have kind of brought this up if they're in my program and they've done a lot of diets, this is where they want to go. Okay, so I'll just, as soon as I experience the emotional hunger, instead of getting through it and teaching my brain that that doesn't work for you to get a reward, I will immediately start substituting things. So I will immediately start eating healthy versions of whatever I'm craving. So my best example is, if you're craving a candy bar, I'm going to have a protein bar instead. And that's fine. But it's, number one, not physical hunger. And number two, you are teaching your brain that if it asks for food, it gets food. And we have to unteach your brain that. We have to teach your brain that if it asks for food, it doesn't get anything, and then it stops asking. So if you think about a toddler who asks for something and you say, I'm not going to give you that thing, but I'll give you this other thing instead, it knows that, okay, I might not get exactly what I asked for, but if I ask, I get something. So I'm always going to ask. And then if I ask and you don't give it to me, I'm just going to throw a fit until you give it to me. And that's kind of what the principle that your brain is operating on right now. But if you understand, okay, this is what to do when it asks, and this is what to do when your brain throws a fit. And so you feel really confident not eating, even though it asked, and even though it's throwing a fit, next time around, it will know, okay, I used a lot of energy to ask for that thing and then to throw the fit, and I didn't get a reward. So maybe this time I'm not going to do that. And when you do that over and over and over again, your brain knows to stop asking. So I kind of lost my analogy there, but the analogy is that you know right now, I guarantee it, that if you let a toddler throw a fit 1 or 2 times and you don't ever give it the reward, that it just won't do that anymore. Most of us understand that, even if we haven't had kids. If you don't reward that toddler's tantrum, it probably isn't going to throw as many tantrums. And probably over time, it's just going to stop throwing tantrums altogether. Your brain will do the same thing. But what diets don't understand, what other experts out there don't understand, is how to teach you how to do that. So they just don't talk about it. So it's just not addressed at all. Okay, so we use substitutions or distractions instead, and that's probably what you've been trying to do if you have awareness enough around it at all. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Okay, so how do we understand the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger? What do each of these individually look like when they show up in our lives? And how do we recognize which one is which? So I'm going to break these down for you, the big key differentiators. So physical hunger. This is your body physically letting you know, hey, we're ready for fuel. Hey, we've used up a lot of what was stored in our muscle. We've used up a lot of what was stored in our liver. You can go ahead and fuel us now. And ironically, actually, this is a side note, but when your body has used up what's stored in your muscle, and then when it's used up what's stored in your liver, and you still don't fuel, it goes to your fat cells for fuel. And when it gets really efficient with burning those fat cells, it actually stops sending you hunger signals, which is pretty amazing, for a while at least, because there's so much fat for it to use. So physical hunger is so important because we are telling our body, okay, go use fat for fuel. And that's what we want. We all want to not have that fat on our body, yet we're not willing to allow our physical body to go get that fat, to go use that fat for fuel. We're too scared to do it. But in order to get rid of that fat, we have to do it. You need to understand how to do that. Okay, that was my side note. When you're experiencing physical hunger, any food sounds good, typically. So your body gets hungry and it just says, you know what, you can give us anything. Like an apple will work, a sandwich will work, or a handful of nuts will work. A candy bar would also work. It might say candy bar is amazing. That's very good. But any of those would work. Like it's not specific, just like any type of food. And if you've ever been like, this is my last memory of being like really, really hungry, was going on this really intense, like several day hike. And you are, obviously exerting a lot of energy. You are eating hardly anything. And when you do eat, it's like not very good. Like we had those freeze-dried meals that you add like hot water to, and they're just like not really very good. So you're like physically very hungry, but basically any food that crosses your path at that point, you're like, I will eat it. Like it could be anything. You put, a roasted bug in front of me, like I'll probably eat it. Like I'm that hungry. So really your body gets to that place where it's just like, whatever it is works because we're physically hungry and we could physically use some fuel. Physical hunger also comes and goes in waves. So for me, and I always encourage my clients to delve into this and really take notes on this. Like pick a day that you're going to do this and take notes on how it comes and goes and what it feels like. So for me, I wake up and I am typically have zero hunger, zero physical hunger. My body's not sending me any signals. My first hunger signal might come around 11 o'clock in the morning. And it's like a whisper. It's like a little brush on the door, like, hey, if you want to fuel us, fine. If not, that's okay. Actually, I lied. It's probably not like 11. It's probably like 9:30 or 10. Timing here is so important. I don't know why I felt the need to like really explain that, but it's a whisper and it comes for like 5 minutes and then it's gone. And oftentimes I don't even notice that it happened. So like maybe in the back of my brain I do, but I'm really not, it's not that urgent. It's not something that's like really getting my attention. And then an hour later, it might come back and it might stick around for like 10 minutes instead of 5. And it might be a little bit stronger, getting my attention a little bit more, but still like I can ignore it. I keep working. I don't even stop to like think about it. And then another, an hour after that, it might come back and it might stay for, 15 or 20 minutes this time. And it might be a little bit stronger. And I might physically notice there's a little bit of growling. There's a dull sensation. Sometimes it feels like I drank cold water. It might feel like there's like rocks tumbling around in my stomach, something like that. Like a little bit more physical motion in my stomach, always in my stomach area that I'm having those sensations. And then if I don't eat anything, it's going to go away for another hour, another couple hours. So that it continues like that for hours and hours and hours and hours. You could go all day long and it would just be that, but getting a little bit stronger and sticking around a little bit longer and maybe coming a little bit more frequently. So instead of every hour, it's coming every 30 minutes or every 10 minutes. And eventually it'll just be there hanging out for an hour. And then it'll go away again. I mean, it's really incredible to just sit there and experience that and really feel what it feels like. Because when we do experience physical hunger now, when you experience physical hunger now, likely what's happening is as soon as you get a whisper, so I said like 9:30, 10, you might have a whisper at like the minute that you wake up and you're like, you mentally go into panic mode. I have to eat. Something bad is going to happen if I continue to experience this. This small physical need for fuel is going to drastically escalate extremely quickly. And I have to, like, we go into this very emotional place very quickly. And now it's emotional hunger. It's not physical hunger. But when it's purely physical and purely separating those two, it's completely different experience. So I highly encourage you to really separate the two to see one as like, this is my brain really causing a lot of panic about this. And this is what's actually physically happening in my body. Okay. Additionally, in physical hunger, the difference is comes in waves. It gets stronger and longer over time. It's never an emergency. Rarely ever is physical hunger an emergency unless you've been experiencing it for weeks on end, for a very long time. Then it becomes an emergency, but you would know that would feel a lot stronger and a lot different than probably anything you've ever experienced. But just in a couple of hours or in a day, it's not an emergency, and you never feel like it's an emergency unless you get into that very panicked and emotional place about it. Physical hunger, for the most part, is going to be in the background. It's going to be just kind of this background noise. Like I said, when I start to notice it is a lot later than, like, it's been around for a long time before I actually start to pay attention to it and notice it. Like, it can just be there in the background, hanging out, coming in, lightly brushing on my door, lightly tapping on my door, and I just completely ignore it. And then it goes away. It's in the background. And then when it does show up physically, it's as a physical sensation that's in our stomach. Like, physically, you could identify exactly where it is. You can pinpoint exactly where it is. And it's, I want to say physical sensation, but we're going to talk about how emotions also are a physical sensation. So I'm really struggling to, like, differentiate those two because it is different. But I have not found the words for that right now. So you might find it as, it might be growling. So where you could actually hear it. Or if you put your if you put your hand on your stomach, you might be able to feel like the movement of it in your stomach, like the churning of it, because your stomach is a muscle and it's filled with liquid. So as that muscle moves, you could physically feel that kind of like making little ripples against your hand. It might feel like an emptiness. You might get a cold sensation, like you just kind of drank a big glass of cold water. It might be a dull, sharp sensation. Those are all things that I've experienced as physical hunger. So, and you might describe those slightly differently, but it's never painful, real pain, like you stubbed your toe, which I did the other day, and I was like, oh my God, that hurt. It's not pain like that. It's very dull and like in the background and just kind of like hanging out. Okay. Emotional hunger. This is coming from the part of your brain that's wired for pain, that's wired to get pleasure and avoid pain. Okay, so it's coming from a part of your brain, I'm going to say that again, that's wired to get pleasure and to avoid pain. And it's asking for that pleasure now because either it's expecting that pleasure now or it's trying to avoid experiencing pain. And it has nothing to do with a physical need for fuel. Okay. And so when I say pain in that what I just said, when I say pain, I'm talking about emotional pain, which that part of your brain, it doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the difference between a stubbed toe and anxiety or a skinned up knee and stress. To that part of your brain, it's pain. It's all pain, and we can avoid it by eating. That's what that part of your brain thinks and believes and knows to be true. Emotional hunger feels like an emergency. So if you ever have, like, I have to eat right now, know that is likely not physical hunger. Unless you haven't eaten for, I would say, probably a couple of days, or at least a day, to where you're going to get to that place where it feels like an emergency. If you are listening to this right now, guarantee if it feels like an emergency, it's emotional hunger. But it feels like I have to do this right now. It's very specific. Where physical hunger, any food will do. An apple, sure, I'll eat it. I'm hungry. Emotional hunger is calling out a specific food. For me, it's always a specific food. Sometimes if I'm like at a buffet or, a party where there's like a lot of different foods, it's like, ooh, let's eat all the things. But typically, if I'm just feeling stressed or anxious and my brain's like, let's get out of this, it's like asking for something very specific. Let's get Cheetos. Cheetos are going to solve this. I know it. I just know it. Cheetos are going to solve this. Cookies, chocolate chip cookies, no nuts, extra doughy. That'll do it. That's what's going to fix this. So keep that in mind. If your brain is asking for something very specific, even if it's something healthy, that's usually emotional hunger. Emotional hunger is usually going to come around similar emotions or similar times. So what happens here is that part of your brain, the pain and pleasure part, it's very conditionable, and it will notice patterns. Okay, we feel stressed, we get a reward. It's 3 p.m. on a Monday, we get a reward. So it's going to be around certain situations, you'll notice, or emotions. So anytime you feel stressed, let's go get a reward. Oh, it's 3 p.m. You're transitioning from being a work person to being a mom. Let's eat chips and queso. Okay, so you're going to see patterns there. It's always happening around these similar emotions or similar times of day. It comes on strong. So it comes on like really strong right now. It's not no sort of gradual build, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't waver. It's not lightly tapping at the door and then leaving for an hour. It's pounding on the door, and it's pounding and it's pounding and it's pounding, and it's taking up all of your mental space. Usually it feels all consuming. It's like we can't get away from it. It's not going anywhere. And the physical sensations that you're going to experience with emotional hunger, there are physical sensations with both emotional and physical hunger, but they're going to be different with emotional hunger because they're going to be more emotional sensations versus maybe like saying vibrations is a better way to put that, because physical hunger is going to have this like physical sensation in your stomach, and emotional hunger will have these vibrational sensations in your body. So a lot of times when I describe my emotional hunger, I experience like pressure in my head or a like stodginess in my head. Like it's just all kind of like all the energy is stuck there. I will feel maybe a tingling in my jaw. I will feel like a tightness in my neck. Sometimes I feel like my head is completely disconnected from my body, or like there's a bag put over my head. Sometimes I will feel very antsy. So I'll be like wanting to move around, like my arms and my limbs will be like moving. I'll be very jittery or feel this kind of like anxiety to get out of whatever I'm experiencing. So notice that for you. This is an exercise that I have all of my clients work on. Like, what does this feel like? Where do you find the sensation? How does it move around? Where does it jump to? Does it start here and go here? So that's really important. But the physical sensation of emotional hunger is going to be different than the physical sensation of physical hunger. And maybe a good way to put that is physical hunger is always only going to be in your stomach, whereas emotional hunger might be jumping around all over your body. And physical hunger is probably always going to feel very similar. Like every time you experience it, it's going to feel the same. Whereas emotional hunger might be changing and morphing, and like this one time it was like this and another time it was like this, and it's not consistent. So those are the two main differences. Okay, so let's get into physical hunger's role in weight loss and how it plays a role in you losing weight. So first of all, it has a major physiological role in weight loss. It has a purpose. It is talking to you about fuel, how much and what fuels are working and what you need. And you do not have to ever get to starving in order for physical hunger to have a role in your weight loss. When I think of starving, it might be different than how you think of starving. So come up with your definition for yourself. But when I think of starving, I think of people who don't have, real consistent access to food, who are physically malnourished and physically underfed, underfueled for a extended period of time, years, that's starvation. What you are experiencing might be, extreme emotional hunger. It might be some sort of intense physical hunger, but it's not starving. Okay. So that's really important to find that for you. What is that definition for you? And do I really have to experience starvation in order to lose weight? No, you don't. You simply need that signal, the physical signal of it's time to fuel before you eat. And there's vast levels of that, vast depths of that. That starts here as a whisper and it goes, all the way to I haven't been properly fed in years or even eaten in days. Those are two very different things. Okay. And you never have to get to that place of I haven't eaten in days. I never ever talk about that with my clients. I'm talking about it here. But what I'm saying is that the physical hunger's role in weight loss is simply letting you know, hey, we can use fuel. And you taking that as your signal, okay, now I'm going to fuel my body because my body's ready for it. And if I choose to wait, I can do that too. But I know that in the next couple of hours, it's not going to develop into starvation unless it's not going, period. But I may emotionally get into a place of freaking out over it. And that's where I'm going to work. So allowing yourself to get there is about calming your understanding what emotions you are experiencing around physical hunger, what beliefs you do have around physical hunger, and calming all of that down so that you can experience physical hunger without that side order of emotions of panic and anxiety and worry and doubt and overwhelm. None of that is going to be useful in this. Cleaning up your thoughts around physical hunger. So this is an activity for you to do, listening to this. If I experience physical hunger, what's the worst that can happen? If I experience physical hunger and I don't eat immediately, what's the worst that can happen? And I actually worked on this with a client recently, and she was like, I think I'm going to pass out. And so when I asked her that question, she saw, oh, yeah, I'm not going to pass out. She was able to really see that for the first time, that thought had just been spinning in the back of her mind. And that, yeah, if I experience physical hunger for 1 hour, and I don't mean consistently for 1 hour, but if I have the hunger signal and I wait an hour to eat, I'm not going to pass out. My body has plenty of fuel. I'm here trying to lose weight, which means that my body has tons and tons of fuel that it can go to and use if I don't eat. And when we got into that conversation, she was like, oh yeah. And she got over it in that conversation. She got through her concerns about passing out, about being scared of experiencing physical hunger in that moment. So it really can be that simple. You just need to address it. You need to pull it out. Especially if right now, as I talk about this, you're feeling triggered, it means that you have a lot of thoughts about it. So write them down. What are you thinking about physical hunger? And what's the worst that can happen if you experience physical hunger and you don't eat immediately? Will you actually pass out? Will something bad actually happen? Or is all of that you are thinking right now just was that all created when you were in preschool at the lunch table? A lot of mine was. So it's interesting to pull that out and to understand that where it's coming from. Put it in perspective. Your body was designed to be hungry for long periods of time. So if you go back to like caveman days, which I really think that this is important for us to understand, like where the human body, under what conditions it was developed and created. It's developed and created in caveman days when we were hunter-gatherers. We'd go out and hunt. Like if you think about a lion or a tiger, they go out and hunt one day, they make a big kill, everybody eats, and then they go sleep for a couple of days and they don't eat anything. And then they're really hungry. And so they go back out and they hunt and they kill something and they all eat. And then they go chill out for a couple of days. And then in those couple of days, like, now I'm really hungry. So that's how your human body was designed, to be under those conditions. To where your tribe, herd, I was going to say herd, and then I was like, go with tribe. And then as soon as I said it, I was like, I don't know about that. Your group of humans living in the cave, or, you all get hungry, you go out, you kill something, or you hunt, or you gather around, you look, at the trees or the bushes, whatever's got something growing on it, and you get a bunch of it, and you guys all eat it, or you go out and you kill something and you all eat it, and then you might not kill something for another week. Your body was designed to experience physical hunger, to have plenty of stores on your body so that if you don't get food for a couple of days, there's plenty there. It can go back and it can utilize that. If it goes through your fat, you've got muscle tissue. You got a lot of it. There's always going to be fuel there for it to eat, for it to go to and utilize. And you are probably never going to be in that situation where you don't have food for a couple of days, or where you're not eating for a couple of days. And you don't ever need to be in order to lose weight. You just have to get to physical hunger before you eat. And that is enough for your body to start utilizing the fuel that it already has, and then to start getting into fat stores and saying, oh, we're going to use this fat stores for fuel. That's enough. Just a little bit of physical hunger. And then what my clients do, and what I encourage you to do, is to plan. Think about it with your logical brain. That logical brain that you wake up with in the morning and you're like, I want to lose weight. And I have energy right now. I'm going to think about my day and what it's going to look like. And I'm going to plan for it. And I'm going to say, I'm going to get a little bit hungry before I eat my first meal. And then I'm going to get even more hungry before I have my second meal. And I'm going to plan that. And I'm going to say, I'm going to wait until I experience this level of physical hunger before I eat, even if my brain's like, but just eat it now. It'll be amazing. And we always do. And you always get it. Even if I experience that, even if everybody else is eating, I'm not at my hunger level, I'm not going to eat. And then I also encourage all my clients to decide, what are you going to eat when you get to that level of hunger? What will your meal be? It's helpful to plan that ahead. Okay, now what do we do about emotional hunger? This is the real work and the real piece that we get stuck on and that people aren't really talking about. So because I could do hundreds of hours probably on this, I'm going to boil this down for you. So first and foremost, make a plan /plan that you will experience emotional hunger. Know that it's coming. I think a lot of times what we want to do is we want to say, it's not going to happen today. I won't experience it today. Well, you've been experiencing it every other day for the last 10 years. Why would today be different? It's not going to be different. You're going to experience it today. Expect it. Know that it's coming. Plan for it. What I mean by that is, when is it going to happen? At what time? Or when you experience what emotion? What is it going to say? What did it say last time that got you to eat? What foods does it crave? What are you going to do? How are you going to show up when it happens? instead of burying your head in the sand and lying to yourself and saying, like, it's not going to happen today, make a plan for it. Prepare. This is when it's going to happen. I already went through it. I'm not going to do it again. Okay. I don't know what, I have this tendency to, like, I say the whole thing and then I start into it again, like repeating it, and it drives me crazy. So I apologize. I've probably done it a lot here on the podcast. It ends today. Okay. All right. Anyways, moving on. Awareness. Having awareness around what triggers it, what sets that part of your brain off, what emotions, what situations. It might be the drive home. It might be seeing a certain friend. I used to have this friend. She just always wanted to eat. She always wanted to go to the drive-thrus. She always wanted to make food. She always wanted to buy a ton of snacks. It was just like eating the entire time I was with her, to the point where eventually, which I could kind of, this was in college, but now as an adult, I can look back and like be like, oh, that's what was happening. But eventually it was like, I would just think about her and I would start wanting to eat food. I would start wanting to go to the drive-thru. And every time we were together, I'd be like, let's go to the drive-thru. Like, it just, my brain got conditioned for like, this friend equals a ton of intense food pleasure, to where, like, even if like the rare occasion she didn't want to like get snacks or anything, I would just be freaking out, like thinking about it full time. It was that big of a trigger for me. So there might be people like that in your life. It might be your kids or your husband. But it's important to know. So having awareness around where this shows up for you. This is a big one. Welcoming it in versus resisting it. We are taught to resist it. So our natural knee-jerk reaction when emotional hunger shows up for us is to try and resist it, to try and pretend that it's not there, to tell ourselves that it's not happening. Or sometimes we're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening again. This can't be real. This is awful. It's the worst thing ever. All of those are forms of resisting it. What you need to do is the exact opposite. We think that if we welcome it in, all of a sudden we're going to just like put all of the food in our mouth. It's really the opposite. It's when we resist it, it gets stronger. It's like, oh God, I don't have an analogy right now. In fact, I was going to use the knocking analogy, but I've used that in so many other ways in this podcast. I'm just not going to do it. But when we resist it, it just gets stronger. Okay, the dog with the food bowl. That's my great analogy for this. So when we resist it, it's like that dog with the food bowl. It's standing in the food bowl at 6 p.m. Give me my food. And, it might knock the food bowl around on the floor a couple times. And if you ignore it, then it's going to start, my dog itches her collar so that it makes that like a chiming noise. So she'll start doing that. And then if that doesn't work, then she'll start like coughing and sneezing and, scratching really loudly. And if that doesn't work, then she starts like yipping a little yip here and there and there. And then she'll start barking, and then she'll be like crawling up my leg, like scratch my leg. And by the way, this is over walks, not me not feeding her. I'm not a bad dog owner. Okay. But think about that. Like the more you resist it, the more you try and shut it down, the more your brain goes into that mode. Versus if you just welcome it and you're like, okay, it's happening. Here it is. I've been expecting it. Then all of a sudden you have ownership over it. You have agency over it. You are in control as opposed to being controlled by it. Okay. So that's really important. The next thing is breathing through it. So I did a whole free class on this. That was incredible. Everyone's like, that was the best class ever. It was so helpful. And then I went ahead and taught it to all of my clients. So now this is what I teach, is a breathing technique to get through it, because it can feel like this really intense emotional buildup. Well, you're probably experiencing some sort of emotion to begin with: anxiety, stress, overwhelm. And then you get this secondary intense emotional buildup of like excitement about the food, justification that you should be able to eat it, and a strong desire to put it in your mouth. So now you have like these two kind of compounded on top of each other, all adding up to like just really wanting to get that food in your mouth so that you can have some relief and release from that emotion. And the breathing kind of does that naturally. And it also takes you out of thinking about the food. So a lot of times when we're in the situation where we experience stress, our brain says, let's go eat the Cheetos to deal with the stress. Now we really want to eat the Cheetos. It feels really intense. And we're just like, Cheetos will fix everything. It's going to be the best thing ever. It'll solve all of our problems. It'll be so amazing. It'll be so good. It'll be so delicious. All of those things that our brain just like goes down that path. When we are breathing and we're focusing on our breath and we're counting our breath, now we're not able to also think Cheetos are the best thing ever because we're counting our breath. We're focusing on our breath. We're counting those numbers. Like it really takes us out of that. So it gives us this pause of that intense excitement and desire to eat something. Really slows everything down. It's so, so powerful. It's so amazing. No substitutions. So if your brain starts saying, let's eat a candy bar, eat the candy bar, it's going to be amazing. Candy bar will fix everything. You're like, no, I won't eat the candy bar, but I will have a protein bar. Yes, protein bar, healthier, maybe. Questionable. But what that really doesn't do is it doesn't teach your brain to stop asking. What we want is your brain to stop asking. We want your brain to be quiet. If you experience stress, that doesn't also mean that you get an incoming of intense desire to eat a candy bar. It's just you experiencing stress. And that's it. You don't have to also now deal with wanting to eat food. And how we teach our brain to stop talking to us about food is we stop giving it food when it talks to us about food. And within a couple of times, it's going to stop. It will not expend energy on things that don't get a reward. And that's a basic principle of your brain. Nobody's talking about it when it comes to weight loss, but it's a basic principle. Your brain will learn, oh yeah, that doesn't work. We're not going to throw a tantrum around a candy bar because the last 5 times we didn't get a candy bar. Doesn't work. That's how you teach your brain. So we don't do substitutions. We do not do substitutions, okay? And you shouldn't either. Breathe through it. Go into breathing. And the last principle of this, the last piece of emotional hunger, and I just kind of talked about it, but you can unlearn it. It is something that you learned to begin with. Your brain in one way or another learned that when we experience stress, we get a reward. When I talk to Hayley about eating candy bars, we get candy bars. That's all learned behavior. It's all teachable behavior. So we can teach it to do something else. We can unlearn all of that. It is undoable, which is the best news. You just need the proper tools and the proper understanding of how to do that. But it really is the best thing. It comes from your brain. Your brain can learn things. It can make new neural connections, and it can get rid of old neural connections. Fantastic. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. This was so fun. And I know it's going to be so helpful for you. These are basic principles, foundational principles for weight loss, for lifelong weight loss that you experience as much more comfortable than a ton of, dieting and struggling and just wanting to eat all the time and then not eating and then having this huge buildup. And as soon as the diet's over, you eat all the things. So thank you so much for listening. I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. If you love this episode, come work with me. You can check out my program, the Brain Training Weight Loss Program, at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Hayley Sohn, my full name, Hayley Sohn, and I will see you inside.